Please help me to reach 1,000 subscribers. I never imagined a single careless comment could shatter everything, but here I am, sitting alone in my apartment, replaying the moment over and over in my head. My name's Emily, I'm 29, and I've been with my boyfriend Ryan for nearly 3 years. On paper, we had a solid relationship. He was kind, dependable, and the type of person who rarely argued. I always thought that meant he would forgive almost anything, including my sometimes reckless humor. I was dead wrong. The night it happened, we were hosting a small get-together with a few friends at our place. Nothing fancy, just drinks, laughter, and catching up after a long week. Ryan had stepped into the bathroom for a minute, leaving me to mingle with our friends. I was chatting with my close friend, Lisa, and somehow, our conversation drifted to past relationships. One thing led to another, and without thinking, I laughed and said, "Honestly? Ryan's pretty average compared to my ex." I didn't mean it to be cruel. It was just a careless joke. I thought Lisa would understand. Maybe I wanted a reaction, maybe I just didn't consider how it would land if Ryan overheard it. He did. I could see it in the moment I turned toward the bathroom, expecting him to be gone for a few minutes, and instead, he was standing in the doorway holding a towel, his face unreadable. For a brief moment I thought he was joking, that he would roll his eyes and say something sarcastic like he usually did. But he didn't. He didn't move, didn't laugh, didn't even blink. He just walked out of the bathroom, grabbed his jacket, and left. I froze. My heart skipped a beat. I watched the door close behind him, felt the silence hit like a punch in the chest. Lisa's eyes were wide and she mouthed, "Oh no, Emily." I felt a wave of panic wash over me. I tried to brush it off, forcing a laugh, saying, "He'll be back in a second. He's just taking a breather." But deep down, I knew something fundamental had shifted and it wasn't coming back quickly. After a few minutes, I tried texting him. Nothing. I called him. Nothing. I didn't know what to do. I kept checking my phone, hoping for even the smallest sign that he was okay, that he would come back and make a joke about how sensitive he was. But the more I waited, the heavier the silence became. By the time midnight rolled around, I realized this wasn't just a typical fight. This wasn't about a single comment. It was about a deeper issue. Ryan had been patient, kind, and accommodating for years, and maybe somewhere along the line, I had taken that for granted. Maybe I had always assumed he would tolerate everything. My jokes, my sarcasm, my careless comparisons, and now for the first time he was proving that patience wasn't infinite. The next morning I went to his apartment. My hands were shaking and my stomach twisted into knots. I knocked, but no one answered. I called again, but only his voicemail picked up. I felt that familiar rush of disbelief, the one that tells you this could be permanent. I sat on the doorstep, scrolling through our old messages, replaying every conversation, every laugh, every teasing comment I had ever made about his personality. Each one now felt like a dagger aimed straight at his patience. Finally, after hours of anxiety, Ryan called. His voice was calm, too calm. I could feel the edge beneath it, the kind of controlled disappointment that hits harder than shouting or anger. He said, "Emily, I can't keep pretending everything is fine. Your comment last night was just the tipping point." I tried to laugh, thinking maybe I could brush it off. "Ryan, it was a joke. Come on, don't take it seriously." But there was no humor in his tone. "It wasn't just the joke," he said quietly. "It's the pattern. I've always tried to support you, to give you patience and kindness, and I realize now that my patience doesn't mean I'm weak. It means I respect myself enough not to put up with constant comparisons or belittlement." I felt my chest tighten. My brain scrambled for an explanation, for something, anything that could fix this. I stammered, "I didn't mean it like that, He interrupted gently, "Emily, you always tease. You always joke. But sometimes joking crosses a line. Last night it wasn't just teasing, it was disrespect. And I can't ignore it anymore." I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach. It was terrifying to realize that he wasn't going to respond with anger or fight, he was going to respond with action. He had already made his choice without me even knowing it. And in that moment, I understood something that I had never fully appreciated. Sometimes love isn't enough to excuse constant disregard. Sometimes the person you love leaves not because they don't care, they leave because they do care enough to walk away from being treated unfairly. Hours passed. I sent messages. I called. I tried reasoning. Nothing worked. The apartment felt empty even though the door was still locked, the lights still on. I couldn't bring myself to leave. I couldn't even think about leaving. I sat on the couch, staring at the spot where he usually sat, trying to imagine how it felt for him to just walk out the door, to step into the night and leave me behind without a fight, without a word of blame. The more I imagined it, the more I realized that this was the consequence I had invited upon myself. Finally, as the evening drew near, I understood the truth I had been avoiding for so long. Ryan's patience and kindness weren't weaknesses. They were the markers of someone who cared deeply, and my careless words had undermined that. He wasn't leaving because he didn't love me. He was leaving because he respected himself enough to know that being compared, belittled, and underestimated, no matter how casually, was no longer acceptable.